Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health 180 with Carion Fenn on Rogers TV. My name is Carion Fenn. The 2026 Black History Month theme for the federal government of Canada focuses on honoring Black brilliance across generations. Today, I'm joined by Kingsley Gilliam at Black Action Defense Committee, Inc., and Ngozi Abone from Beads for Beauty, here to share with you the amazing things they are doing and talk about Black History Month. We want to help you learn more, so let's learn together. Kingsley, welcome back to our show, and Ngozi, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carion. Pleasure to be here.
Can you share with us, what does Black History Month means to you?
Black History Month means an opportunity for Black people to showcase their brilliance, excellence in everything we do, and our long history and our contributions to human civilization.
What we've done. You know, it's amazing, the amazing things. The standard's a little bit different for all of us, and we all have to rise to a level. I don't know if we aim for that level, but the standard is so much greater. So we have to rise to the occasion, and it brings us to where we are today. Ngozi, can you tell us about yourself?
So I am an entrepreneur, specifically a jewelry maker. I've been running my business, Beads for Beauty, for about 3 years now, and I have won 2 entrepreneurial awards for my business, and I'm currently a student at Trent University studying business administration.
Okay. And Kingsley, is there a difference between Black History Month in Canada versus the United States?
It is different because our histories are different. But the celebration showcases Black excellence, both here and in the States, and in several other countries around the world, even in some African countries today.
Okay. Ngozi, can you share with us what inspired you to want to be an entrepreneur and doing the work that you're doing with your jewelry?
So I've always really loved making like arts and crafts and like working with my hands. And I kind of like started to really find a love for making jewelry in specific. So once I started doing that, I kind of like, realized like I had an idea, like I can turn this into a business and make some income for myself and like, display and show people like around the world like what I'm doing. And, like it's a good way to keep it as a hobby. And yeah,
and make people look beautiful. I love my thank you. I love the necklace, and I love the bracelet. I think you've done a wonderful job, and I'm so proud of you, and keep up the good work. Kingsley, can you tell me one great accomplishment that you feel contribute to Black history in Canada?
Yes. There are several that I personally have been involved with, one of which is the whole area of human rights, equity, whether it is employment, education, equity, diversity, and inclusion. We fought to get legislation changed to prohibit hate messages on Bell telephone lines. So that was one of the crusades that I personally led to get the federal government to change the legislation. And so the Criminal Code of Canada was changed to prohibit promoting hatred by an identifiable group. The group that used to do that was a group called the Western Guard Party of Canada, a white supremacist group. And they used that legislation to put them out of business and to jail several other people after that. The other thing that we did, there was no federal human rights legislation. We had what was called the Bill of Rights, which was a statement of principles without any enforcement mechanism and so on. And so, as National Vice Chair of the National Black Coalition of Canada, I was getting a lot of response for law and justice issues. I was getting a lot of complaints from federally regulated sectors of the economy, including federal crown corporations, agencies, boards, commissions, and I had nowhere to send them. So I worked with my team of lawyers, Dr. Juanita Westmoreland Trayor, Charlie Roach, and Vibert Rosemary to develop a proposal for the government of Canada to enact human rights legislation. We got that to them in 1975, and in 1977, the Human Rights Act of Canada was passed and proclaimed and is in effect now. And we did a lot on immigration. We, in 1973, the government of Canada stopped they changed immigration regulation to say that no one could change status in Canada anymore. And
Yes.
that impacted everyone that was in the system in varying stage of the immigration process. And so we felt that was unfair for government to put people in that position. And so when lobbying didn't work, we mobilized people for a rally on Parliament Hill and a march through the streets of Ottawa and demanding an amnesty. And we got the amnesty and we landed over 50,000 people.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And then in 1975, the government of Canada put out a series of papers called the Green Papers on Immigration, a policy to stop non-white immigration to Canada. And I led the charge on behalf of the National Black Coalition of Canada through black communities and prepared people for all across Canada to make deputations to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. And when the committee met in Sudbury, where I live, that was the first location that they had public hearings outside a committee in Ottawa. I told them that this was hate literature, particularly one background study by Professor Raymond Breton, Les Kennedy, and Jill Armstrong from University of Toronto, which says that when the population, the number of people of different somatic norm image rise in the population to 2 or 3%, it creates a moral dilemma for the whole society, particularly when their sons and daughters start going steady with those people of different somatic norm image. So I told them that that was hate literature, and it went off like wildfire. And as a result, that whole policy was jettisoned. So these are some of the achievements that we have had through advocacy.
Yes. Okay. Ngozi, can you why did you start your business? Was there something that triggered you to say that you want to do this? Why did you start your business?
I started my business in the summer of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 15, turning 16. I started it because a few weeks before I was like going on vacation and I wanted to, get some jewelries to wear with my outfits.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought some bracelet kits and started making some bracelets, and then, I figured out that I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I decided to make a profit, start a business to share with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it got started.
Okay. And how do you balance school with being an entrepreneur?
So what works for me is I set a schedule for
Mhm.
myself, dedicating time to study and, like to doing schoolwork and for doing other things for my business, like making bracelets, making videos, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how I manage my time.
Okay. So, what does someone so young? What does Black History Month means to you?
To me, Black
Yes.
History Month is, it's very important, of course, to acknowledge all the achievements that Black Canadians have made and Black Americans as well.
Watching the youths that I mentor and the things that they're doing, it's creating a new generation and being an entrepreneur. You're actually creating the next generation of leadership and what you're doing. So I'm so grateful to see you in action and see that from someone like myself to Kingsley can help empower you to be yourself and reach for the skies. Is there one tip you can give to a young entrepreneur who's thinking about starting a new business?
Um, my advice would be to stay consistent,
Hmm.
don't let anything get in your way, and don't give up.
Yes, and that's a really good tip. Kingsley, is there one quick tip you could give to a young person like Ngozi?
Well, it's always a pleasure to be able to deal with young people. And my personal professional career has been in the human services, and I do from early childhood to adult education and so on. So I try to motivate people to be to seize opportunities, and we strive to get people into business because as Black people we have to provide employment for our people,
Yeah.
and it's only through business
Hmm.
that you can ensure that you can hire your own. So we encourage people to take every opportunity, and we have fought, and now we are getting some help from the federal government in that area. They have the Black Opportunities Funds and things like this.
We will continue the conversation the next time. We are recognizing the 30th anniversary of Black History Month, exploring Black brilliance. My name is Carion Fenn, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Health 180 with Carrie and Founder Rogers TV. We are exploring Black History Month in its 30th year. Kingsley Gillum is back with me. to talk about his contribution and involvement in Canadian Black history. Kingsley, um, in everything that's been going on, how has your cultural identity shaped who you are today?
It is immense. Um, People's identity makes them who they are. So one of the things that I strove for when I came to Canada, I came from Jamaica, where 95% of the people were black. So we had role models, black teachers, every office in the land was held by black people, including the Governor General when I left there. And so I knew what black excellence was and that we could strive for it. In addition to that, I had been exposed to Marcus Garvey's teachings, who had motivated blacks and empowered them all around the world, and so on, leading to the decolonization of Africa and the Caribbean, and so on. So I was familiar with that.
Mm.
But when I came, I lived in Sudbury, 270 miles north of Toronto, and there were few blacks there. But I would travel to Toronto to meet with and be groomed by some of the great leaders like your, the people from the UNIA, people like uh, Charlie Roach, uh, um, uh, Dr. A number of these people who were very heavily involved with um, black organizations at the time.
Mhm.
Judge Stan Grizzell, he was the first black citizenship court judge, but he was also one of the founders of the Black Sleeping Car Porters.
Mhm.
Harry Gary, another of the founding members of the Black Sleeping Car Porters, and so on. And so I would get groomed by them, learning about activities here. I would travel on weekends when I had a weekend off to come and observe the Black Education Project, which was preparing kids to survive in the school system, giving them, providing enrichment for those that needed, that could appreciate enrichment programs, as well as if there were some with remedial needs, we would do remedial work. But then it was insulating them in terms of their pride in their race and culture to withstand the racism that they were experiencing in school. So
Mhm.
we did that for some time. I did that for about 3 years, and then I withdrew and set up my own program in Sudbury. And Sudbury is the only black community in Canada with black people where we never had a problem with kids dropping out of school.
Okay. So, how important it is for a partnership with the Black community and allies?
Repeat that?
How important is partnerships with the Black community and allies?
Oh, allyship is extremely important. It's because we could not achieve anything without some support from other quarters. However, you couldn't rely on others to lead the battles for you. So the black community of Canada has fought battles for every other racial group, including mainstream white Canadians,
Mhm.
to get certain uh, uh, fairness and justice in the system.
Okay. So, what misconception about Black leadership do you think still needs to be challenged?
There is a stereotype that blacks should not be in positions of leadership. However, we find blacks leading a number of the major corporations, Fortune 500 corporations, and others. But when it comes together, there is always um, some self-fulfilling prophecies that are perpetuated to say you can't do this. And unfortunately, some people buy into it. So they believe that they can show excellence if they are working for somebody else, but not for themselves. And we are trying to get people to realize that we have built the world. Everywhere continent you go, there's a footprint of Africans before any other racial group. And those things, some of those, for instance, the pyramids of Egypt and South and North America, nobody can still figure out how those things were built, despite all the engineering and architectural skills we have. So that is genius. And so we need to expose these things to people so that, I had the opportunity back in the mid 70s to lead an organization that planned and executed Canada's participation in the Second World Festival of Black Art and Culture held in Lagos, Nigeria. And the theme of that concert, friends, that festival was the contributions of Africans to human civilization in various fields, in the fields of arts and culture, science and technology, engineering, medicine, etc. And it's amazing to see, for instance, the stethoscope that your doctor used today was invented by a guy called Hippotemp, who founded the first medical college in the world in ancient Egypt called Kemet. And other surgical instruments used in the modern operating room have been carved into the walls of that building. And just before COVID broke, I saw a team of British physicians and surgeons touring that facility, and they were looking at the instruments carved into the wall. And one of the British surgeons said, we still use these in the operating room today. So these are some of the myths that we have to dispel and help to show people that all through history, Africans have demonstrated excellence in all spheres. And it wasn't until 1885, after the scramble for Africa, where Europe commandeered Africa and carried out all kind of genocide and this type of thing, etc., that African became so-called backward.
Yes. So we know that, and I want to ask you, because you have a background in social work, we know that racism is still a big issue in Canada. We still have a lot of work to do, and we find that with the barriers and the challenges and the systemic issue that happens in terms of racism, we find that those issues translate to emotional harm that also translate to physical harm, meaning that more people are going to the doctor, more people are going to the hospital, more people are being diagnosed with condition they otherwise would not have been diagnosed with if they weren't exposed to that. What's your thoughts on racism, on the emotional impact of racism on the Black community?
It is humongous. However, the African people are the most resilient people you could find anywhere in the world, because stress creates all kind of physical and mental disabilities. But from before we were born, our mothers were under severe stress through childbirth and after, and have been able to raise people that have, to some degree, been able to withstand these pressures and not breaking under it as a whole. We do have some casualties along the way. And having been a psychiatric nurse, working in and a social worker, I've looked at dealt with these things both in Jamaica, which was 95% black, but here in Canada, where we are a very small fragment of the population. And I've seen the impact. It affects us, including the air we breathe.
Mm-hmm.
We had to fight to get the law schools to admit blacks. We had to fight with the Law Society of Upper Canada to admit them to admit them to the bar after they graduate, and so on. I remember when we had about half a dozen lawyers in Toronto, black lawyers. Today we have hundreds, and so on. But these are fights that we had to put up to fight against racism and in every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm. So that is a significant amount.
It is still going on, but we have made some progress. For instance, the whole issue we talk about, I remember back in 1970-71, we were talking about affirmative action.
That's a long history to translate to what is happening now. We still have much more time to go. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Health 180 with Carion Fenn on Rogers TV. My name is Carion Fenn. Thank you to Kingsley Gilliam at Black Action Defense Committee, Inc. and Ngozi from Beads for Beauty for joining us. Thank you for joining, and remember, together we are stronger.